Oh my gosh, y'all, here we go again. We have another practitioner who is so excited to share her information with you. But here's the thing. How in the world are you going to know who she is if I don't introduce you? So you all welcome to the Self-Care CEO. And I want to introduce you to Dr. Lisel.
Yes,
Is that all right?
beautiful.
All
I
right.
love it. Thank you,
I'm going to
Connie.
read my notes because it's so much information. I want to get it right. So let me read the notes that I took and I'm going to share these with you all. She is a San Diego, woo woo. She's a chiropractor who helps young and healthy people actually feel young and healthy. Whenever I was writing this down or, reviewing this, I was like, this is so great. Everyone's going to love this information. Her passion for helping people with anxiety in a natural way. That's what led her to chiropractic. The practice of, y'all, just hang on. She's going to tell you all about it. All right. So Dr. Lisel was a Division 1 tennis player. I don't even know what that is, but I can't wait to dive into that. Okay. She had a list of injuries and pain. So, but a chiropractor who helped her get rid of her anxiety. Could you imagine this is going to, if this doesn't make anyone cry, I don't know. So the chiropractor helped her get rid of anxiety without the use of drugs. Yeah, and that's what led her to teach about natural health. Please let this be a household term now, natural health. So she knows natural health. It is possible because healing comes from God and the body's natural ability to heal itself. Please say hello to Self Care CEO.
I'm so excited to be here with you, Connie. Thank you for having me.
Girl, you are so welcome. I cannot believe that our world has gone into this triangle of where natural medicine isn't even a part
hmm
of the triangle. So to me, I want to dive in to the fact that you've been doing this for 9 years. So all
And
from the passion of another chiropractor.
exactly. And that triangle that we're talking about is something that, people are almost in denial of that. No, that's not happening in society. We're not getting pushed, into this regimen through medicine and big pharma and those kinds of things. But we actually have been subliminally influenced for, I don't know, as long as there's been media, as long as there's been newspapers and not even just social media. It's like, you could literally open a newspaper from like 1901 and it would say something like, don't go to that quack chiropractor, but take this medication that, may give your kids polio or something.
I appreciate natural medicine in that I understand it in a way that it's so bioavailable. So can you talk to us about how do you do this without prescribing? How do you do this without drugs? And let's dive into bioavailability.
Definitely. Well, my number one focus is I never want to shame anybody for taking medication and looking for surgery and more invasive treatments. If that's, in their playbook, then I'm not going to be arguing with anybody, especially because my mother was a registered nurse for 30 years and I got all of my shots as a child. I took every single medication given to me, and they were usually given to me by my mother. So I'm never going to shame anybody for their medical choices, but I do just want to educate my patients and educate my community that there are these other options, whether that be chiropractic, naturopathy, acupuncture, or even just waiting it out. It's funny what a little sleep and water and some supplements can do to your natural immune system.
So first thing that I would love to talk about is for you to talk about how God is the only healer and that chiropractors, tell me more about that, like how your relationship with God, how does that communicate through your practice?
Definitely. So the initial principle of chiropractic, we call it above, down, inside out, that God is the only healer. Your body was created immaculately. And as long as there's no nerve interference, no misalignments from your spine, no nerves getting pinched along your spine, then your body was created to heal. There's a reason why 2 cells turned into 4 and then to 8 and then 16. And that was from innate intelligence. And that was provided to every human by God. And chiropractors never want to take the credit of your body's natural healing. That's probably my favorite part about being a chiropractor is like, I'm not a healer. I just happen to remove the subluxations from your spine and allow your body to heal itself, because God's the only healer. I get really weary when I see somebody's Instagram that says healer or whatever. I'm like, okay, what are they selling? I think that God is the only one who has the power to heal you, spontaneously. Otherwise, the way that he created you, the way that he created your children, that's already the most immaculate design.
I love that. What is the age range of clients that you do see?
I've seen babies when they were 3 days old. I've been a house call chiropractor for moms who gave birth, whether in the hospital or at home, and I'll adjust their baby in the same bed that they gave birth in. So the best time to start chiropractic care is at birth, and the second best time to start chiropractor is right now.
Gosh, what would you say is a misconception that people have about chiropractors? Let's
Definitely.
just get that out in the open.
It's kind of a catch-22. The misconception is that chiropractic is only for pain, but then on the flip side of that, chiropractic is great for pain. So whatever, however that marketing got flooded out, I'll take it, because a lot of times people come to my office looking for help with chronic pain or things that they've been dealing with for their entire life. And sometimes I'm their last option. And sometimes I'm the person who helps them get the greatest relief. And if pain is their symptom, then I can help them with that. But if it's something else, if it's like anxiety, or if it's an insomnia and they're not able to fall asleep, or if it's their baby who's colicky, I can help them in the same exact way. My treatment doesn't change if the person's there for pain or if the person's there for wellness. My treatment is the same.
I find that so interesting. And I'm going to tell you, if I have an anxious client, I would not first think, let's get you connected to a chiropractor.
Right.
How do you appreciate that to be communicated by other providers and them actually funneling their clients to you, which could be drug free as least invasive first is how medical should be practiced. How would a clinician refer a patient to you like that?
Definitely. Thank you for asking. And I am much of the camp of co-managing and having a health team. I even have a therapist who practices in my office because I want everybody to have, the best providers in their hands so that they can, get over this hump that they're on. So for myself, I went to therapy starting probably age 20. I was put on anti-anxiety medications around the same time. And that's because that was the only option that I knew of. I knew of therapy and I knew of medical doctors. The chiropractor who introduced to me the nervous system and the fact that my spine and the alignment of my spine was contributing to my anxiety, the way he explained it to me was that this was his explanation to me, and then I'll go into a more detailed explanation. He said, you have so much weight and tension on your spinal cord from your head coming forward, because by the time I was 16 years old, I had a cell phone, I had a laptop, and everything was down here. My posture was hunched over like this. So this pulling on my spinal cord was essentially triggering my sympathetic nerves to think that I was in fight or flight. So you would have thought I was running from a bear on the inside, but really what I was doing was playing on my computer or, just looking down, reading a book. This posture that everybody has, this curling in of their shoulders and anterior head carriage, is essentially irritating your parasympathetic nervous system. So it's not able to rest and digest. And so then your sympathetic nerves, they're hyperactive and they're overstimulated, and you get stuck in that kind of, when I say stuck in this posture, it's literally you're stuck in fight or flight. And I think yes, there are some chiropractic ways to address your nervous system, but really chiropractic is the number one fastest way to get your parasympathetic nerves to work and to relax your sympathetic nerves.
I don't know why, but the first thing I thought of was constipation
Great
and
point.
IBS.
Great point. Definitely. I mean, when you asked what age some of my patients are, little babies aren't coming to my office because they have back pain. Little babies are coming to my office because their moms are like, my baby's constipated. I don't want to give them Miralax anymore. Or my baby is blowing out their diaper, and then we'll go through days of not pooping at all. And that's the symptom of their sympathetic nerves are taking control, and this poor little baby or an adult or whoever it may be, they're not able to relax. They're not able to digest.
I think that is so fantastic. So I feel like we've already like the cart is in front of the horse, and I don't mind. I don't mind it at all because people really need to see the nuts and bolts. But then if we can, I would love to go back and I would love to hear about how you even started because you own your own practice. How did you come to start your own practice?
I had lots of help along the way. I've had so many mentors. Thank God I've had amazing bosses. I know that's not always the case. Sometimes practitioners take advantage of their interns or of their associates. I had at least 2 different bosses that really just paid for my business coaching, paid for me to go to seminars outside of chiropractic school. And so I saw a model of care for patients that worked. And I saw it in multiple offices because I worked in an office in LA that was very successful and we helped thousands of people and I saw miracles with my own eyes. But then I would go to another office who practiced in a similar way. And they also had thousands of miracles and they were successful. It was like, hey, there's a model here that we can recreate. And I didn't invent it. If anything, I'm just lucky to have found a style of practice that's cohesive with my life and also happens to help the patient. Because, it's one thing if you're sold a business plan and you're sold this huge package and promised all these things. And it's another thing if it actually happens.
I think that is so wonderful that you had such a great foundation because when you do have this the solid foundation, how did your spiritual life also help lead into the foundation of your business?
Definitely. So I grew up Catholic, going to Catholic church very passively. My entire family, we would show up, but really we didn't have any passion going to church. And as an adult, I always had my Catholic faith in the background, but not until I went to chiropractic school and literally saw miracles happening of people who were just in so much chronic pain or, blind and could now see kind of a thing. I thought, wow, okay, the body is a miracle. Let me pay more attention to this. And then actually, thank God, I always credit. There is a church here in San Diego that I went to on Easter Sunday. And this point, I was in chiropractic school and I was we had 4 different sets of board exams. And I had one board exam that I had failed before. And I was needing a miracle. And at this point, I was still faithful, but I wasn't regularly attending church. I wasn't, crediting my good life to Jesus. And I went to this church ceremony for Easter, and the pastor was a chiropractor that I had met at chiropractic seminars. And before it's a holiday, before he even starts his sermon, he says, I think somebody in here needs a miracle. I think somebody in here is desperate for a miracle and I need to reach out to them. It was a big, beautiful church in front of maybe 1,000 people is what it felt like. I walked up to the front and he looked me in the eye and he said, I know you. You're a chiropractic student. I was like, I know you. You're a chiropractor. And he was like, I think I need to pray for you. And thank God that set our friendship off. He prayed for me. And the next day I received my board scores. And out of a 800 perfect score, I got a 773. I got a near perfect score for an exam that I had failed before. And I knew this was a miracle.
I find that so interesting how people are saying, I just don't know what to do. I'm so stressed out. But literally the entire time in front of our face, the help is there. And you do have to reach out. That pastor was not going to call you. He did not know what you needed. I find that so interesting. And I think it's probably the same way if I would understand it too, is you don't know what your clients need. They have to make a call. they have to book a consultation. Do they have to be a particular of religious belief to receive your practices?
No, actually, my favorite clients are wellness people who are just always looking to better themselves. And then my second favorite clients are the skeptics and the people who think, I've heard of chiropractors and I don't even want to be here. And sometimes those are the ones that get the relief the fastest because I'm very blunt with them. I'm not sugarcoating anything. I'm like, I'm not trying to fluff anybody. If they want to be in my office, they're there. And if they don't want to be there, then hopefully I hope they find something better. But that pastor that I bring up, one interesting thing was I had grown up going to Catholic church. This was a non-denominational Christian church, and that was probably the awakening that I really needed. And my sister was already going, and she dragged me there a few times, and I would stand there with my Catholic dad, like with our arms crossed, and we didn't want to hear it. But not until somebody really opens up the door for you to walk through, you can't be dragged into anything. And same with chiropractic. I can open the door for you. And if you walk in, then cool, I can help you. But if you're like standing there with your hands crossed and you never make the appointment, I can't help you.
I totally understand. If you had someone listening today who finds your information, what would you say the core values of your business are? Do you have the mission statements, your core values?
Core values or my mission statement is that I love to help young, healthy people actually feel young and healthy. And to me, age has nothing to do with being young and healthy. I think being young and healthy is a mindset and knowing that my body is able to heal and I'm able to live a life that I want to live. I want to be able to play with my grandkids. I want to be able to cook comfortably. I want to travel to Europe, whatever. I think that is what makes somebody young and healthy, not necessarily their age.
I appreciate that. What I also would love to see in this world, and I'm curious if your practice does it, providing healthy options besides chiropractic, but preventative care. Is that something that you also initiate with your clients so that going forward?
Definitely. So in my practice, I also have a massage therapist. I have a therapist that I mentioned, somebody who does traditional Chinese medicine. There's two different types of physical therapists in the office. And all of us are of the mindset of, we don't want you to keep coming in forever. We want you to get what you need, take the tools, get the education that you wanted from us, and then go live your life. Really, prevention is knowing where to turn when something really starts triggering again. Prevention for me is I still, I get some anxiety here and there, but I know what I need to do. I need to pray in the morning. I need to eat breakfast. I need to get adjusted. I need to meditate. I need to journal. Prevention for me is not never needing help ever again, but knowing what to do and knowing where to turn if something arises again.
I love that. So, do you have a chiropractic school?
Yes, the school that I went to or the course that I teach.
So, but who would be a good candidate for chiropractic school?
Right. So this is a funny question. I think there's maybe 8 different chiropractic schools in the US and a few international. The school that I went to is essentially like a glorified, they're teaching chiropractors to become physical therapists, or they're teaching chiropractors to be physician's assistants because they have those other programs in the school. They're not teaching what chiropractic is. There's really only, I think, 3 schools in the US that I can think of that are really teaching chiropractic. So that is a dilemma. Another thing of the people who want to go to chiropractic school, the first thing I tell them is you have to be willing to stick up for yourself and for your profession for the rest of your life. You can't we're not going to get our PhD in math and math is just going to be exactly the same every single time and you can prove it every single time. In chiropractic, there is a lot of, sometimes people want to push back and say whatever they want to say about chiropractic, and you have to have the heart to stick up for it and stick up for yourself and for your profession, and just know that I've seen these miracles. I've helped these people. I know exactly what's true for me, and I'm going to do it probably till the day that I die. I'll be a chiropractor when I'm an old lady seeing people in my house. But if you're not willing to do that, then definitely don't go to chiropractic school.
For real, you're married to your
Yes, definitely.
do you feel like in your schooling in chiropractic, the ones that you talk about that you go to, that the three that you had mentioned,
Yeah.
do they have more of a functional medicine vibe?
So that is a additional license that you can get. And it's actually outside of the doctorate of chiropractic. So you learn a lot about functional medicine in chiropractic school, but any kind of like functional medicine, extra nutrition support. There's also diplomats in sports therapy, diplomats in radiology. Those are outside of school. And I had no idea that chiropractic school was going to be so challenging. The curriculum was so difficult. And then to tell somebody, okay, if you want to specialize in these things, you have to keep going to school for even more harder, difficult protocols. You're gaining more knowledge for your clients and for your patients, but you're also investing a lot of time and money into school because it's $200,000 just to go to chiropractic school, and then to stay in for maybe another diplomat or another, extra more degrees after that. It's like, here's another 100 grand, here's another 50 grand.
Whoa.
Yep.
That is so wild.
Mhm.
So that sounds so exciting. It sounds like $100,000 easy to come by. It sounds like it would be no fun to from what I hear you say, is go through your program, because really your classroom is on the table. Your classroom is the client who books and is telling you their unique individual issue or concern. Is that correct? Is that not maybe like an avenue of maybe go back to school and learn something else when you feel like you're kind of a little bored, but just kind of go ahead and dive in, finish school? What are your thoughts?
So I think to go to school to get the degree, it's just the entry point. And to actually now learn with your own two eyes and see what the body's capable of, now you actually have to be in practice, which is fascinating because out of my program, there was 100 people. And I remember the summa cum laude of my class. Like, I don't think she ever practiced a day in her life because she was so intelligent and had such great grades. But what that transferred into was not chiropractic practice. It wasn't, working with your hands and dealing with people on one-on-one. Maybe it was really good, on tests and writing things down, but to actually learn what the body can do with different types of patients and learn what it's like to actually run a business, that doesn't happen until years after you've graduated.
Did you learn how to run a business in your chiropractic school?
No, zero business practiced or taught in chiropractic school. And if anything, often the teachers of not only chiropractic school, but the teachers of a lot of graduate programs, they never were in business. What I had to do is I received hundreds of hours of business coaching, and I feel like I got a master's degree in business from other chiropractors who created their own MBA, or their own even just economy degree, because I couldn't have told you what an ROI was. I mean, I knew exactly every single organ and muscle and bone in the body and what it was innervated by, but I didn't know what a return on investment was. I didn't know what P&L. I don't know what a P&L was. It's like you could go to any gas station, liquor store, and they'll tell you what your P&L is. But you go to a $200,000 doctorate degree and you don't know what a P&L is. It's a profit and loss.
Oh, sure. I think it's so interesting that when we are in school and we are learning, it is so wild how the origin, action, and insertion, but that is not going to pay the lights at your building.
Hilarious. Yeah, it's like you want the landlord to, give you a few days late on the rent so that you can tell him, how many bones are in his wrist. It's like, nope, he doesn't care about that. He wants to know where his rent check is.
Absolutely. So since we're talking about money, I would like to I would love to just dip our toes into a little bit of maybe something could be a little bit of a controversial
Mm,
topic. So people will turn their radio up now to hear this.
let's hear it.
So, remember in the very beginning, we were talking about the triangle. We were
Mm.
talking about how the health insurance seems to be the top, and then they talk to the doctors, and then the doctors talk to the pharmacy. So, do you mind, can I ask, do you take insurance?
I am a non-practicing out-of-network insurance provider. So you can submit super bills for the treatments you've received in my office. You can submit a super bill to your insurance for reimbursement, but anything you're reimbursed by your insurance, you just keep that directly. I have no say in it.
So, now I'm curious. So, since you don't take insurance and all the super bills and all those little things like that, that nobody's going to learn about in chiropractic school.
Right.
So tell us if we're so curious about this, and let's say patients, like potential clients, are listening to
Yep.
this, and they're like, insurance is so expensive, and I need this, and
Mhm,
I hear you, and I want my miracle.
mhm,
Can you please guide me? What would you tell people who want to know this information? How do they get to you?
mhm. Definitely. So I'll have two answers to that question. And I'm not BSing here. This is my true feeling. If you were my sister Connie, this is what I would tell you. So I have now met OBGYNs who are cash practice. I've met physical therapists, medical doctors who are in cash practice. And each one of those people are providing the top level of care. And the reason they're cash practice or not in network with insurance is because they don't want, if they're an entrepreneur, they don't want a boss. And health insurance is like boss daddy of America or a lot of Americans. And the health insurance often is dictating who you're allowed to see for your care, how much that doctor is going to get paid for your care, even if it's not what was billed to them. And they're kind of like the
Bang the
old
gavel.
neighbor,
Yeah.
like they're the little dictator that's
Hmm.
dictating what kind of care you and your family are going to receive. So the best providers that I know, they're all cash practices. I go to a holistic dentist, I pay that woman cash, and I'm like, thank God for you. The flip side of that, and this is my personal thoughts on charging people money for care and charging people a price that I think people can afford. I live in San Diego. I've been in California a long time. I'm Filipino. My parents came here from the Philippines and they had $0. They would never pay $100 for a steak. They want something that's discounted. They want something they can afford. So when I opened my practice, I made sure that my prices were something that any family could afford. And the way that I've done that for my particular practice is I offer essentially a monthly reoccurring price that's very similar to a gym or a Pilates studio. Like if you can pay a few $100s a month for yoga or Pilates or whatever, my price is almost exactly the same. And for me, I feel that my morals are stronger than my, need to be a wealthy entrepreneur. I'm able to keep the lights on and also help my community by charging something that a 22-year-old could pay. And, I'm
Love
in a
that.
wealthy area of San Diego. Sometimes people ask, they're like, you can raise your prices. I'm like, I don't really need to. I don't really need to. I feel satisfied with the income that I make, and I would never want to turn somebody. There's this 21-year-old. He's so sweet. You can tell that he is not homeless because I've spoken to his mother before. He gave me his family's address, and it's in a very wealthy area, but I know he's not living at home. But he's still able to afford my care because it's not an outrageous price. And that's, for me, I think that's more important than nickel and diming with an insurance company.
Do you find that your clients that have insurance, would they get the same quality of care
Mhm.
whether they had the insurance or no insurance? What's the difference, or is there a difference?
So I think that's just variable in so many different ways. I know you're in Oklahoma City, is that right? I know there are some chiropractors that I know that they're just in an area where if they're not in network with insurance, then nobody's coming through their door. And so
Right.
they play the game. And they're probably incredibly empathic and really loving people. But oftentimes that's where burnout comes from. It's like, I want to give, I want to give. But if they're not able to, put food on their table and pay their car payment or whatever, well, then you can't go to that chiropractor. But there's a whole flip side of that. There are some people who they're overbilling insurance because since they're getting their bills cut by insurance companies, they're like, okay, I'm going to bill for this laser and for this massage and for this exercise and that other exercise, that water that you drink, I'm billing for that. And it's like, it turns into, you're just feeding this insurance machine. And I don't know. I think it's variable, especially from city to city, state to state. I know there are probably some areas in California where it's like, no, they're not paying cash. It's just not going to happen, which I'm thankful to be in San Diego and to be in an area where, I can even talk about this with you.
Right. So, question: when you graduated from chiropractor school and you finished your that test to graduate, did you automatically have a place to get a job?
I did because I was a little entrepreneur at age 4 years old. I've never not been working. So when I was in chiropractic school, I went on a chiropractic mission trip to Bolivia. And one of the chiropractors who actually, he was from Bolivia as well. He had a practice in Los Angeles where I was living. And I had networked with him during that trip. And he was like, yes, you're hired. And so he was the first person to hire me that I really felt like loves and supports me and wants to see me succeed. And not everybody was in that same position. I mean, on these Facebook groups and on my alumni groups and things, and I see these young people who are, maybe 25 years old and in so much student debt. And they're like, is anybody hiring? And it's like, oh, it hurts my heart to say, wow, you didn't have a mentor or you didn't have a relationship with somebody that you could see while you were in chiropractic school that would want to hire you once you got your board exams finished and your license, because really, like, LinkedIn is not a place for chiropractors, and Indeed is not a place for chiropractors. It's like I'm literally putting my hands on people and my love into people. I don't want to work for some franchise or I don't want to work for some corporation. It's like there's going to be almost like a family type relationship. So my best suggestion for people is when you have to be an intern, like create a relationship with these other practitioners that you want to, mirror in practice, because they may be the ones to hire you. And if they don't hire you, you can just kind of take what they did and then recreate it wherever you open up.
I think you just gave people the $1,000,000 answer, because I think that's worth the money people paid for this podcast to listen to it. My goodness, cash that in right now. So as an entrepreneur, you pinned two words in my brain that if I could tell anybody who is going to be the CEO of their own business, right, is networking and mentor. So I would love to know, how did you network? How did you network before school? And I know since 4 years old, girl, you got this. That was some serious, you have some your net is casted wide, but let's bring it down a little bit. But how does networking look like before school and now what it looks like after school? Because I know those are two different types of networking.
Right. Well, you asked earlier, what's a Division I college tennis player? I played tennis from age 4 years old until I graduated college. So Division I is just like the whatever branch of the NCAA of college sports. And it's, it's the good one.
Oh my gosh.
I had my first cell phone when I was 12 years old, and no other little girls had a cell phone, but I would call their house phone and say, hi, is Connie there? Do you want to play tennis with me this week? Or I would call my tennis coach, who was like a 60-year-old man, and I'd be like, hi, Lee, this is Lisel. Can I set up a lesson with you? I was freaking cold calling people at 12 years old. So
With the brick phone.
with my funny Nokia, or I was using a house phone. And then, what's even funnier is if they didn't answer, then it was like, guess I'm going to keep calling. So if you never had any sales, if you never had any telemarketing done, just become a tennis player. And then there's your telemarketing right there. So networking to me just is essentially being friends with people. That's kind of the way I look at it. Nowadays, I'm actually very, very blessed. I've done the BNIs and Chamber of Commerces and those types of things. But when I moved back to San Diego, I had a friend on Instagram that I had never even met before, but he had this community that he called the Group SD. And it was essentially he calls it a non-networking networking group. So it's grown from 2 people to 800 people. And I'm the co-host of the Group SD, and we have our own podcast, and we meet twice a week for free. And our pull for people is, yes, this is for entrepreneurs. You can talk about your business, but really what happens there is a lot of friendship, a lot of community, a lot of connection. I find it similar to like being a part of a community at church. Is not everybody has the same exact beliefs, but we love each other in that same way, and we support each other's businesses in that same way.
Okay, now I have to ask about mentor, because there are some snakes. There's some snakes that slither out there. Hey, the look on your face, you totally get it. There are people who want to take your business concepts. There are people who want to take your ideas. Now, are you a mentor, or who mentored you into knowing those when to keep your eyes ahead and make sure you have a do not compete and a non-disclosure? I'm telling you, tell me about that. Let's climb into that box for a couple of minutes.
It's fun. It's fun to talk about. You only see a good mentor once you've had a bad mentor, right? So I remember one of these internships that I had working for free. I stayed until 10 p.m. with the office manager, and I was making $0. I mean, I hope to God the office manager was making some money staying that late. But I remember that same chiropractor, she basically was just like, do you want to work here or not? Like, do you want me to hire you after you get your license? Then you have to do this stuff. And I was like, no, I don't want to work here. And so I stopped being her intern. I recognized a bad mentor. The good mentors that I've had, they don't have you sign a non-compete, and they don't have you sign a DNC, because it's like they didn't invent it either. I didn't invent my style of practice. I want somebody else to take the information that I've taught them and recreate it in their own individual way, right, not next door to me. I hope they don't open, across the street. But I want the more people under chiropractic care, the more families who are living healthy and preventing disease and illness, I'm happy. But the reason I even have that outlook nowadays is because I just had so many people help me. So many people helped me for free. I had lots of paid business coaches, but a lot of people, they just really want to see the profession survive, because it's kind of a sad thing. Not everybody is going to thrive in practice. And so then you see the practice kind of providing a type of care or quality of care that you don't like. So it's like, let me enrich these people, let me educate people so that they can actually serve their community in a proper way, because nobody's winning if there are fewer chiropractors. There's only going to be a win if I can teach other people what I've learned, what other people have taught me, and hopefully the practice can thrive on its own.
I love that. I would love to ask a question. How do you feel, or do you feel that chiropractic is a form of self-care? And if so, how? And if so, why?
So it's funny. I basically spend almost like 90% of my money, I spend it on self-care. And self-care to me is preventing illness, feeling my best, keeping my mind and my body as healthy as I possibly can, feeding myself the best kind of food, and just knowing that if I need to slow down, I can go to a massage that's going to be an hour long. But if I only have a few minutes, I can go to my friend who's a chiropractor. They can adjust me real quick, and 5 minutes later, I'm out the door back to doing what I have to do. So one of my favorite things about chiropractic is to get adjusted, it only takes a few minutes. So I don't need an hour long to feel my best. I can literally lay on the table, get adjusted, feel real good, drive home. It's almost like popping in and out to get a coffee. It doesn't have to take all of your day, and it doesn't have to take all of your wallet.
Love that. You mentioned that you take really good care of yourself, and that's longevity. That is you going to be in business for 40, 50, 60 years from now. I mean, we don't even ask our PCPs or our OBGYNs, are they taking or how's their blood pressure? You know what I mean?
Mhm,
You want someone, I imagine, who's taking good care of their self,
mhm.
because if they're funneling that down into you, that is going to be the type of care that you get.
Right. I totally agree. And, I mentioned before my mother, she was an RN. I've had friends who worked in the emergency room, and it was, oftentimes the burnout that they had was fast. Like my mom, she retired when she was in her 70s, but I had a girlfriend she was under 30 years old, and she was already just feeling so depleted by her work schedule and what she was eating when she was in the hospital and the hours she was in the hospital. It's like, man, I think that is probably the toughest part of working in a job setting, that you can't just like walk out the door, take a break, have your hour-long lunch. I have this other girlfriend, she's a dentist, very successful dentist. She does not take lunch breaks. She's like almost 40 years
Oh,
old and does not take lunch breaks. She's got employees, she's got a bunch of other dentists in her office, and she like scoffs at the idea of taking a lunch. I'm like, I think you need to eat. For me, I can't provide for somebody else if I'm not taking care of myself.
I mean, these are $1 million moments here. These are things that people should actually write down. Like, you should save this podcast to go back and listen to later. You should forward this to your bestie and go, oh my gosh,
Please.
we have to take really good care of ourselves. Because if not, we're going to be sitting in our chairs and not doing very well. Oh my
Exactly.
gosh. I feel like there is so much information, and there's probably something in your mind that you're just like, I'm so excited to share this. And maybe I just don't know to ask. What is something that you would love for the audience to know? What do you want us to know about? I wouldn't even know what to ask. What do you want us to know? Because I mean, it's all yours.
Thank you. I think going with the theme of self-care is healthcare. If you don't want to need that super high deductible health insurance that you've been paying all that money for these emergencies, then you just need to start with that self-care. Because taking care of yourself, preventing anything from, running rampant in your body, that is something you can control. Something you can't control are the big, scary emergencies that happen when your body has been warning you for years and years and years.
Mhm.
And then, boom, suddenly you have kidney stones, or boom, suddenly you have a gallbladder attack. It's like you could have done something about that when it first kind of started poking at you. So self care is your best health care. It's not selfish. And there's definitely more important ways of taking care of yourself and less important ways of taking care of yourself. So if you can really prioritize just three things: sleep, that's free, water, and good clean water that isn't, just from one of those like plastic bottles that you find at the grocery store, and chiropractic care. Chiropractic care is the best prevention for any type of pain, any type of overstimulation of your nervous system. And not to mention, it just feels good.
Wow. This has been so helpful for me. I hope that this information has been well received and will be well digested by those who are listening. Because, for one, I mean, we do talk about business. I mean, because business is how we feed our families, business is how we keep our what we went to school for, what we were blessed to know, and then putting that into practice. I think that's great. And then you deliver that in such a way. Your words are so helpful. Your words are so impactful that I almost feel like people would make an appointment with you to be like, I just wanted to say hi. I
Thank
just wanted
you.
to sit in your chair and have a conversation because I'm so anxious. And sure, touch my neck, but okay, cool. Because sometimes you just need to fly in, get a moment of self-care and replenish. Sometimes 5 minutes, like you said, is enough.
Exactly. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I was thinking of this funny story. My mom, like I said, she came here from the Philippines, and we would go to the grocery store, or we would go to different restaurants, and we'd be like, my friend is there. My friend is there. And eventually I asked her, I was like, how did you meet that person? And they'd be like, I met them here. I met them at the grocery store. I met them at the restaurant. They weren't her friends. They were just employees of these places that she went to. And she felt so cared for by them that she would call them her friend. And I feel that way too. I don't necessarily call all of my patients patients. I often refer to them as my friend. And I think they feel that same way about me.
See? Oh my gosh. Well, I wish we could talk for 57 million minutes because this is so good. I mean, hopefully you come back on. I mean,
I would love
hopefully.
to.
Oh my
Definitely.
gosh, this would be so great. I mean, I hate to wrap this up, but I'm like, you all would be like, I've got to turn the car off now. This podcast keeps going. But
Yeah.
trust me, when you're passionate about what you do, it really does exude. And I do feel that you are so blessed. I feel like financially blessed, but like, I feel like spiritually blessed, like the words that God has given you. It's so amazing that you could use those tools for not good, but you choose to use them for good and for healing. And I think that's so amazing. I think this is what America needs. This is a global podcast. So I think this is actually what the world needs. It doesn't matter what your religion, what your religious beliefs is. It doesn't sound like you said that there's just one pigeonhole person that you see or who would benefit. So hopefully this is a global concept for people to understand that self-care is important. You even said self-care. These were your words, is self-care is a form of healthcare. So please get out of the prescription bottle, get out of that triangle and open it up and open your mind and call Lisel and ask her when you can book an appointment, and her information will be shared. I promise it will be shared in the description. You all will find out all the goodies about her. So it is such a pleasure. Did I miss anything? Is there anything else that you wanted to say?
Love to be back on. And next time we can talk about different ways of paying for your self care. And one of those ways that we hinted about earlier is called a health share. And there's lots of different types of health shares in the world, lots of Christian health shares. There's something called Clearwater Health Share. There's all these different ways to pay for your self care, pay for your health care that is outside of the big machine.
We do not have to be bullied into thinking that there is only one way to pay for medical help.
Exactly. Exactly. I would love to talk to you about that more.
Okay. Well, you stole my line earlier because self-care isn't selfish. That's literally how I end my podcast,
Yeah.
which is so funny. I think you're stalking me.
I am. I am.
I know, right? Get in line. Just kidding. Thank you all so much for listening to the Self-Care CEO. I am so excited for us to hear about your journey. How did you feel about this podcast? Give us a 5-star review if you loved it. Oh my gosh, Lisel just gave me 5 stars. Yeah, Lisel, thank you. And so I'm really excited for us to get to connect again. And I will put in the links to her socials so that not Social Security, but her socials, so you can find her, connect with her, ask her questions. If you are a business person and you really want to get the 411 on some of the things that we talked about, yeah, go ahead and plug in. And I'm sure you're on Instagram and all the things. They will connect with you, message her, bombard her with all the phenomenal questions, and also go to her business whenever you find it. She did provide some information to you, so please leave a review that you did listen to her podcast and her interview and what you found so informative about it, right? This is what makes the world go round. We love reviews. Those mean more to us than anything.
Definitely. It's like reading your yearbook, It's like, oh, they said they love me and they have, they want me to have a good summer.
And I know they're only good reviews. They're only good reviews.
Right, right. Yeah. We'll delete the bad ones.
No doubt. Well, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Lisel. It was such a pleasure. And so you have a super, super blessed day.
Thank you. You too. Talk to you soon.